The following program is intended for the training of professional firefighters and paramedics only. This program is intended as a resource, not a replacement for any of their training. The activities depicted in this program are performed by highly trained and skilled individuals who possess the competency and certifications necessary to perform their duties. Persons who are not certified as a firefighter should not engage in any activities demonstrated on this program. When possible, footage of actual incidents are used in the creation of this program. Therefore, the content of this programming may be considered both verbally and visually graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Dispatch engine 5 to arrival.
Hello and welcome to Palm Beach County Fire Rescue's distance learning program for area firefighters.
On today's episode of the Hot Zone, we'll have another visit from Captain Bill Gustin, who will have part one of a two-part series on Size Up for Safety and Effectiveness.
Also on the program, we'll talk to Captain Bruce Clark about the Fire Department Instructors Conference, better known as FDIC, which occurs annually in Indianapolis.
Many times the actions taken in the first few minutes of an operation will determine the outcome of the entire event. One key component of an effective response is size up. A quick and accurate size up is critical in determining your initial conditions, actions, and needs.
With over 40 years of experience in the fire service, Captain Bill Gustin has certainly performed a few of these. Let's find out what he knows about size up for safety and effectiveness.
Hi, I'm Captain Bill Gustin with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. It is once again a great honor for me to be able to instruct for my brothers and sisters on Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. I lived in Palm Beach County for several years and I have a great appreciation for what you do. Today's subject is size up for safety and effectiveness. A little bit about myself. I entered the fire service in 1973 in the suburbs of Chicago. I've served with the Wheaton and Naperville fire departments in the Chicago area, and for the last 37 years with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, I'm captain of an engine company in Liberty City. Size up is a continuous process that begins when the alarm is received and doesn't end until companies are back in quarters. We are constantly evaluating our risk against our perceived benefit. Let's take a look at some of the considerations that we look at during an ongoing size up. One of the most important is occupancy. What is the building being used for? In order for you to determine the level of acceptable risk to firefighters, you have to know what the level of acceptable risk is to civilians. Typically, in a non-residential occupancy, the risk to civilians is very low. Conversely, the risk to firefighters can be very high. So occupancy indicates the risk to both civilians and firefighters, and overwhelmingly in a non-residential occupancy, it is the firefighters that are at the greatest risk. So we will handle fires in non-residential occupancies differently. One of the worst mistakes firefighters can do is to fight a fire in a large commercial building with the same size hose lines and the same aggression as you would if it was an occupied residential building. It's a grave mistake. These firefighters barely escaped with their lives when they tried to attack a fire in a large dollar store with small diameter hose lines which were suitable for a house fire but were totally inappropriate and ineffective here. And that's their hose burning in the parking lot. That's what cost the 9 brave firefighters from Charleston, South Carolina, their lives, because they fought a fire in a voluminous furniture store packed with petrochemical-based materials, in this case, sofas, mattresses, with small diameter hose lines. And as a consequence, they lost their life. Let's take a look at another occupancy that is very common in Palm Beach County. This is your fast food restaurant. In my estimation, fast food means fast collapse. Why? Because you have literally tons of exhaust and air handling equipment on the roof that are supported by a lumber yard of lightweight parallel cord trusses that fail very quickly in a fire. There's an infamous case, a classic case of a roof collapse in a McDonald's in Houston, Texas, where 2 firefighters were killed, and they were killed within about 4 minutes after they arrived. So just some scenes of the aftermath. Arrows point to where the firefighters' bodies were located. When NIOSH did the report on this tragedy, They answered three principal questions. First was, what was the conditions in the attic space upon the arrival of the fire department? In my estimation, I'd have to say that fire was roaring in the attic. Did positive pressure ventilation used by the fire department have an effect on the intensity of the fire? And the investigation revealed that it did not. But here's the $10,000 question, brothers and sisters. Would lifting a ceiling tile just inside the entry door used by the initial firefighting crew have indicated the presence of fire in the attic space? You better believe it would have. Now let's take a look at fires in residential occupancies. You arrive at 3:30 in the morning on a small ranch-style house. You'll notice that there's a minivan and a station wagon in the driveway, and there's a tricycle on the sidewalk. You do your 360 and you see a swing set in the backyard. I think it's going to take more than an NFPA standard or OSHA regulation to keep you and your company from doing everything you can to try to save this family. Why? Because civilians are at grave risk. Hence, we will operate at a higher level of acceptable risk to a point, maybe for the first 5 minutes, maybe until we determine that the family is out, or God forbid, they have perished. This is a big problem throughout the United States, and I know it's a problem in Palm Beach County. These are homes that were built originally to house one family and now house how many families? What are some of your indicators? An exterior stairway, multiple gas meters, multiple electric meters, maybe just a bunch of cars parked in the front yard. How many garages have been renovated into efficiencies or apartments? Sometimes not knowing your occupancy can put you at grave danger. Here, this looks like a single-family home, when in fact, it's an illegal marijuana grow operation with a gaggle of wires, hoses, tubes, and illegal electrical wiring. The mixed occupancy can get firefighters into trouble when there are residences above a business. The fire may actually have started in the business, but will be reported typically in the residence. Firefighters have made grave mistakes by ascending, going to the floor above a business, not knowing that the fire is below them. And then there's the vacant structure. How can we justify unduly risking firefighters' lives for a vacant or abandoned building? The time of day is very important. We know that we find most of our civilian occupants in the bedrooms at night. Here's an example. Fire is blowing out of the front of this small house. They walk around to the back. They find a window air conditioner still running. They ripped the air conditioner out of the window, reached in and took the occupant right out of that bed. Who's they? It was the police before the arrival of the fire department. Just again to show that time of day is a critical consideration. Gentlemen and ladies, you get a pot on the stove burning at 3 o'clock in the morning. It extends to the kitchen cabinets. Check the couch. There's a pretty good chance that somebody came home from a late night merrymaking, put something on the stove because they were hungry, and passed out or fell asleep on the couch. Check the couch. Incident time is a critical consideration because it's a good measure of the amount of risk to firefighters. As the incident progresses, the risk to firefighters becomes greater because the structure is weaker, because they're expending their air supply and they're deeper in the building. It's actually less for civilians as the incident progresses because we've either evacuated the folks or we've determined they weren't in the building to begin with. Structural stability is a critical consideration, particularly with lightweight construction. And it is a good measure of judging the effectiveness of our strategy and tactics so we don't end up doing the wrong thing for too long.
Rush 26 and Engine 26 have just arrived right here and you've done the work.
Resources is another consideration of our ongoing size-up.
Engine 2A.
Will you have a water supply? Who is responding with you? You have a very diverse jurisdiction in Palm Beach County. There are places where you will have a second and third due company within the first 5 minutes upon your arrival. Other places you'll be operating alone for quite some time. Is that a factor that will influence your decision whether you lay a supply line? You better believe it will. Will you have to ask for a tanker operation? You don't have to get on the scene to know that you're going to an area that doesn't have any hydrants. Pay attention to the information you receive on dispatch and while you're responding, and watch out for the vague reference of house next door, smoke in the area of, because chances are you're not absolutely sure where you're going. The design and construction of structures is a critical consideration. You better know the difference between old and new construction, and does it matter? You better believe it matters. This is old construction that derives its strength from sheer mass of materials. They haven't built a structure like that in 50, 60 years. Modern lightweight construction is not a friend of the firefighters. We have to adapt to modern engineered construction consisting of gusset plates, small dimension wood, glue, wood chips. We either adapt or we die. When you arrive, try to slightly pass up the fire building so you get a view of 1, 2, 3 sides of the structure and adjoining exposures before you even leave the cab. But be very careful when you're laying a supply line so you don't block the driveway where you may want to position a later arriving aerial apparatus. Complete your 360. Let's take a look at some of the things that we will glean from doing a 360. It's something as simple as this. The garage is on the left. If the garage is on the left, the kitchen's on the left. The utility room's on the left. If Granny is in an invalid bed in the back bedroom, you know that when you go in, you'll go to the right. If you're on an engine and you know that the fire is in the kitchen, you would go to the left. As we take a walk around the back, is there somebody trapped at burglar bars, at a window? Is there sooty fingerprints on the window where somebody is passed out trying to get out? Are the LP gas cylinders impinged upon? Where does that door lead? Does it lead into the utility room, or does it happen to be a house that has been renovated with an efficiency in the back where if the fire is in the rear, you can only reach it through the rear door? So we've got to do our 360 whenever possible, and when it's not possible, as a company officer, you need to communicate that to the troops and the incident commander that we are going to start our operation with incomplete and possibly inaccurate information. What is the true location and extent of the fire? And where are your people in relation to the fire? We want at all costs to prevent our people from operating in the flow path above an uncontrolled fire. Don't let fire get between you and your means of escape. These firefighters that ascended to the bedroom up above this fire are in grave danger. When they open those windows, they create an area of low pressure, a flow path, if you will, and they've given that fire a written invitation to come upstairs and chase them right out of the building with serious injuries. What phase is the fire in? Most of us are well aware that of modern fire dynamics. As the fire burns in a sealed up house, in Florida is a perfect example of a sealed up house, especially in the summertime to contain the air conditioning. A fire can consume the available oxygen to the point that it will diminish in intensity. When it diminishes in intensity, it diminishes in temperature and in pressure to the point where smoke may not even be pushing out of the structure when you arrive until you open a door and the oxygen rushes in. And it begs the question, what is going to reach the fire first? You with a hose line or the oxygen that is flowing in behind you? Wind, speed, and direction is another critical consideration, and it doesn't have to be a high-rise building. This is Houston, Texas, but this could just as well be the Polo Club. It could be Wellington, except that pool would be in the back. And across the back of that house, you'd have a row of sliding glass doors. And at as little as 20, 25 miles an hour, if the sliding glass doors fail and the wind is blowing into the Charlie or rear side of this building, The firefighters will be in the flow path. They will be in the exhaust. And in this case, 2 firefighters in Houston perished when the sliding glass door failed, and they were in the flow path. Consider positioning your apparatus. Now, Palm Beach County has a considerable wildland-urban interface problem. Consider a shift in the wind could burn your apparatus up. Be careful where you're spotting. Think about, where is that fire going to be 5-10 minutes from now, and what happens if the wind shifts? What's the interior layout of this building, particularly if it is a commercial building? Are you putting your people into a maze? Are you putting your people into a building that they cannot rely on their low air alarm to tell them when to get out? And in which case, you better have a reliable accountability system to know who is in the building, but more important, how long they've been in this building. Now, we've been using this for years, but this system actually originated in the United Kingdom. As it says, hard work diminishes your air supply. If your folks are in a building without a hose line, and there is the slightest possibility that smoke conditions could increase, put your people on a rope. Even though the need at that point might not be apparent, put your people on a rope so they can find their way out. Sure, we're concerned about access. We know how difficult it is to force into commercial occupancies, particularly the rear of occupancies when they're closed. But we really need to be more concerned with how far our people are from their escape. How much air are they going to have to consume in order to get out of that building if they should get into trouble? So, as part of our size up, have we considered providing alternate means of egress? Forcible exit, if you will, so our people are not trapped inside of a building should they get into trouble? Have we raised ladders to upper floors so if they do get in trouble, they don't have to bail out? This is another infamous case where a firefighter was lost, and it took them 25 minutes to get him out of this grocery market. This was in Phoenix, Arizona. Strictly conjecture on my part, just supposing, what if the hose line had been advanced into the rear rather than through the turnstiles in the front? When the firefighter got into trouble, would he have been able to get out because he would have been closer to a means of egress? Consider the short interior attack. A short interior attack involves advancing hose lines to the seat of the fire via the shortest distance possible by using existing windows, doors, or breaching techniques. The advantages of a short interior attack: it increases firefighter safety by minimizing the distance between the outside and the seat of the fire. It maximizes a firefighter's air supply. It prevents handline separation and disorientation. It helps avoid exposure to flashover, backdraft, and collapse conditions. The deeper you send your people into a building, the more they need a backup line, because the greater the chances that fire is going to get between them and their means of escape. We know the value of a rapid intervention crew or a rapid intervention team. But at this point in this incident right here, I would rather have a company with a backup line protecting me and my means of escape rather than 4 firefighters standing out with tools. Consider in your own experience how many times after the smoke is cleared of the fire you go, oh my gosh, look at this. Gasoline, LP cylinders, all of which could have intensified the fire to the point where we could have been trapped. And the only way that we would be able to get out is with our brother or sister firefighters with a charged line protecting our means of egress. Some of the places that indicate a backup line is when you're operating with a porch roof or overhang. Smoke, fire gases will accumulate, and there's a good chance you could get vent point ignition up underneath that porch roof, trapping your nozzle team inside. I'm all about a rapid intervention team. Let's establish it early, and let's make sure that they are proactive by completing a 360 so they know the hazards that the firefighters operating inside are facing, and allow them to make the building safe for their brothers and sisters that are operating inside. If the building has automatic sprinkler protection, let's get the fire department connections supplied, and make sure that the valves are open. Continually evaluate your strategy and tactics. Maybe when this company first arrived, advancing an 1 3/4 line into this commercial building was the appropriate strategy, was the appropriate tactic, but it certainly isn't now. Are we winning the war of GPM versus BTU? Don't let the force of habit have you pulling an 1 3/4 hose line on a fire that demands 2.5-inch lines and portable master stream devices. We have to be able to overcome the BTUs with adequate GPM. That's about all I have for today. We're going to continue this in another segment. Again, it is a great honor for me to be able to instruct for my brothers and sisters on Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. May God bless you and keep you safe in our most noble profession.
Thanks, Captain Gustin. In case you didn't know it, Captain Bill Gustin is a national speaker in many fire service topics and has been an instructor at FDIC for many years. He sits on the editorial board of Fire Engineering Magazine and is a regular contributor to several national publications and this program. Here's some news from around the department.
We are Engine 37 and Rescue 37. We're a local fire department right here in this area of Lantana. We're out here today to show you how we cut apart a car and what you will be entitled to if you happen to text and drive or drink and drive.
Today we're having a extrication demonstration for the 8th graders who are just starting to come into their own, and they're going to start driving very soon. So we're hoping to make an emphasis in their life and on not texting and driving, not drinking and driving, and make some kind of an impact on their life. When if they see somebody tearing apart a car, we're going to let them know this is what could happen to you if you make poor decisions in your life.
We have other tools over here. We have things that are like a big scissors. They cut through metal.
Well, our 8th graders are getting ready to leave now and move to 9th grade. So they're going to be having friends that they're going to be riding with who are already driving. They will be driving themselves in a year or two. And we also discussed the fact there's been a lot of information over the last 10, 15 years about DUI, but our kids every day have cell phones, they're texting, and there hasn't been, it seems like, an awareness among our students of the dangers in texting, those kind of things. So all these things came together. We wanted to do this for our students and hopefully that it would save one of them one day.
So they just moved that door out of the action area.
Well, I'm on the SAC committee. I work with Principal Burke. My daughter goes to this school, and that is a personal interest of mine, and that's how I got to know Principal Burke on a personal level. And then I started to think about how can I help the kids in this school, being that our zone is right here. I can make an impact with the kids, and so they don't text and drive and drink and drive.
Well, I think that one of the big benefits is the kids actually get to see them, see what they do, what their value is in the community. It just makes it a little bit more real for the kids. Seeing the car physically here and what the firemen will be doing, it just makes them a real person. They become part of it. And hopefully in the future they'll be able to, think about that before they pick up and text and drive and realize that there are people out there and that there are people out there to help them, and hopefully it'll help increase their awareness of what firemen do and how important they are to our community.
These tools exert a pressure of about 10,000 psi.
Hopefully the message will get across, but if one or two listen and it saves one or two lives, that's enough for me.
It's critical. You guys understand you're getting to the age that you'll be driving with friends the next year or two, you'll be driving yourselves in the next year or two, and we'd rather have you see something like this than have to experience it or have a family member go through something like this. So we hope in the future that if you guys are driving, that you're smart enough not to be texting and driving. So we wanted you to see this, so hopefully this is something you can take with you to where it may save you guys. Just having this experience here will make you think twice in the future.
We'll be right back with more of today's program. Keep it here.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
And move over. When you see lights,
Vests. Or reflectors.
please give us some room. Slow down and move over. When you need us,
We've got your back.
do you have ours?
You got our back?
You got ours? You got our back? Please, slow down.
And move over.
On average, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue responds to almost 1,200 structure fires each year. Most of us should know what to do in case of a structure fire. Unfortunately, our pets do not. Typically, animals will hide when they sense danger. So how can we protect them? By placing one of these pet notification stickers near each entry to your home. This will help firefighters know to look for them when they do their rescue search. These stickers could save the lives of your pets. Get yours today.
Dispatch engine 5 to arrival.
Welcome back to the program.
With us now is Captain Bruce Clark. Tell us a little bit about FDIC. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thanks for having me. Fire Department Instructors Conference is held in Indianapolis every year, Indianapolis, Indiana. It's going to be April 16th through the 23rd. It's a week-long training. We have firefighters from all over the world. I think Bobby Halton, who is the editor-in-chief of Fire Engineering, says we have about 30,000 firefighters a year show up out there.
Do you have to be an instructor to go?
No, not at all. We have rookie firefighters all the way up to chief officers out there, and it's all about a week of brotherhood and learning the latest, greatest training that there is out there.
Is it lecture-based, or is it hands-on, or what actually is going on?
There's a 2-day workshop. You can pick and choose up to 4 different classes in 2 days. That's all lecture stuff. And then there's also hands-on training on those 2 days. If you want to do actual hands-on, take your gear out there. They have extrication, flashover, RIT training, all kinds of good firefighter training. But also after those 2 days, and then they have the opening ceremony on Wednesday, and then it's all hour and 45-minute lecture classes.
Excellent. Do we have any of our people teaching up there this year? I know we have in the past. You've been an instructor before.
Yeah, I've taught out there. This year we have driver-operator Rick George doing his tactical resiliency. Retired District Chief Curtis Rice is back out there again teaching. Chaplain Jeremy Hurd is out there teaching again this year. We've had quite a few of our people teaching there.
Excellent. It's a great opportunity, I think, to meet people from all around the world come to this thing, and it's a great experience. I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, it's a good time. A lot of good training, a lot of relevant current training.
Yeah, and Captain Clark, a few years ago, you encouraged me to go. I know you encourage a lot of us to go. And as a result of attending it, I came back to you and said, I will never miss it again. Right. And now I get a chance to teach there. So I want to thank you for making that a point.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Captain Clark. And that's going to do it for our program today. As always, you can share your ideas for future topics by reaching out to us. Contact the Training and Safety Division at the address on your screen.
Until next time, keep training and be careful while you're in the hot zone.